What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, and we got a big episode today because the New York Jets are back on the football field for OTAs, and we didn't get to talk about it last week because we had an awesome episode with Evan, who came on and talked all about some of his thoughts, reactions to this offseason, and what he expects from the team going forward. So that was a really great one. But today we'll just get back into the weekly overview of what's been going on with the New York Jets, and it all starts with offseason team activities with these OTAs going on right now. So before we do that, I'm also going to, let me take you through a little bit of the agenda. Talk a little bit about my experience. Obviously for me, world travel and Jets fan, got my tickets to London, so I'll talk to you a little bit about what that was like. We'll go through the OTA updates. It's also after June 1st, which means there's some money implications for the New York Jets coming out of that, so we'll talk about that as well. We will do a quick gym break because there's, once again, a lot of things happening in New York sports. And then my final thing I'll do here is, now that we're past the time where everyone gets a little bit more money back from the salary cap, there's some free agents out there still. So I'm going to give you, I think I got 5 free agents here. I'm going to give you what I think are their best fits and where they should go coming into the rest of this offseason with training camp just right around the corner. We're about 2 months away. So with that, let's start off. Oh, we got to start off with a trivia question. Can't not do a trivia question. So I guess the theme behind this trivia question this week is because it was someone very special to the New York Jets' birthday 2 days ago. Our savior, the one guy who's been able to do it for the New York Jets where no one else could, Joe Namath, turned 82, I think 2 days ago now. So my trivia question is going to be around Joe Namath. It's kind of a weird situation. Actually, I'll explain the story later. My trivia question is going to be, while Joe Namath was playing football, he opened up a bar in New York City. What was the name of that bar that he opened up in New York City? Now, obviously, I'm a little young for this time. I wish I was around to go to this bar. Would have been awesome to go to a starting NFL quarterback, future MVP, Super Bowl MVP bar while they're probably there. But so we'll get back to that question at the end, but should be an interesting one. And I'll throw a couple other Joe Namath fun facts at you too, because I've got like 4 biographies on Joe Namath that I love to read. So all right, so that's our trivia question. Next, last week was a crazy day. I think it was last Thursday. General admission for the NFL London series tickets went on sale. So the Jets are obviously playing in London again this year. We are the home team this time, and we're playing the Denver Broncos. Unfortunately, we didn't get any sort of help from the team being season ticket holders to say, hey, we'll get you a ticket for London, which was kind of weird. They just credited you back the game, essentially, or you can put the dollar value towards next year or whatever. So I thought it was really weird that the Jets didn't do anything to help us get tickets. Last year when I went to the game, it was Jets-Vikings, and we were also at Tottenham Stadium, which is where the Jets will be playing this October. And there were 1 million Vikings fans there because it was their home game. So the Vikings must have done something to help these folks get tickets while we didn't get anything from the Jets. So I'm not really sure what the deal is there. Maybe I missed something. I highly doubt it because I'm on top of this stuff, probably more than most people. But the way it works is these tickets go on sale usually at noon London time. And we are 5 hours behind. And then usually you wait in line an hour beforehand. So 11 a.m., what is that? 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 a.m. our time. So Thursday morning, I wake up, 5:45, get in the virtual line, and I'm like, great, this is awesome. I woke up early. I'm going to be one of the first people in this line. I'm going to get outstanding tickets. Then you just wait for an hour, and nothing happens. And when the hour comes up, normally it says what spot you are in line so you could start buying tickets. And it lets people in slowly so that they can buy, they get out, and it doesn't overwhelm the system. But I get to 7 a.m., and it's like you have been randomly put in line. So all this waiting we've done, everyone just got randomly placed in a different spot. And the reason I know it was super random is because I had 3 devices going. I had 2 computers and an iPhone going at the same time on this website getting in line, and one of my devices was way ahead of the other. I was 69,000th in line on one device. I was 82,000th in line on another device, and 129,000th in line for another. Now, remember, this is not only just for the Jets-Broncos game. It was for the other London game happening as well. I think it was the Browns and whoever they're playing. So I'm like, I am not going to get good tickets. This is going to take forever. Then we're starting to get through the actual process of people buying their tickets, and they pause the whole thing. They pause the line. And I think the reason is because there were so many third parties that were getting in there to buy mass amounts of tickets. Even though you can only buy 6 at a time, they probably had a million devices, huge companies buying these things like a Ticketmaster, StubHub, things like that, trying to buy some of these tickets to resell them for way more money than, they currently are. Eventually, they got it all sorted out. They got rid of the bots, all that kind of stuff, and we were able to get in. But I didn't actually get in to buy my tickets till about 10:45 in the morning. So it was just a disaster trying to get these tickets, but ended up getting 4. Very excited about where I'm sitting. I will be back in London. It's official now, so excited that that's the farthest trip the Jets have to go on all year. We got it checked off. Tickets are already bought. Now I got to do is buy my flight, hotel, all that good stuff. Good news is my company also has an office there, so I'll probably spin it into some sort of a work trip as well. But very excited to go back. Now for the rest of the season, the Jets don't leave the East Coast. Every other game is on the East Coast. The farthest we go is south to Miami, maybe New Orleans, I think is the farthest. So this is a very doable year if someone wanted to do every single game, which I might do because of how realistic going to these games are. So very exciting that we got that checked off the list and we are rocking and rolling, ready to go with my first tickets bought. All right, let's go into the OTA updates because there was a lot of stuff that happened over the past 2 weeks. Jets are very much practicing. No pads. It's all just shorts, T-shirts, things like that. Once again, just a reminder, it's just really where they start to build chemistry with each other, start to build up their endurance, work out, start to build that culture as a team, and then you really start to set some of the programs in place in terms of offensive plays you're going to run, your scheme, same thing with the defense, special teams coordinator starts to get involved. And we are a brand new coaching staff, so we got to start a little bit earlier. And it's really important that everyone's there because there's a whole different system that the entire organization's running. So very excited to hear that we had about a 99% attendance rate, which is awesome. It's kind of what you would expect from someone with a new head coach, all these players trying to make a good impression to really make the team. But a few people actually spoke over the past couple weeks during, they have like 1 day a week that the press can actually go and speak to some of these players. The big one, obviously, Justin Fields, our new quarterback. For him, he's kind of a soft-spoken guy. He's not like that flashy, outspoken, outgoing quarterback that you're going to hear on the stand, which is probably a really good thing after what we just dealt with for the past 2 years. So he kind of has that, like, everyone's like, how do you be more like Eli Manning, the guy who actually won 2 Super Bowls in New York? And, he's got a little bit of that where he's quiet. He kind of stays out of it, kind of a thing. But for him, the big thing was he's very excited about the coaching staff. I think he really likes Aaron Glenn. He talked about how real he was. He said during one of the practices, we were not showing the right energy, and he was just straight up, got in our face, started to get us right back on track. So good to hear that our coach is holding the team accountable, and you're hearing it right from the quarterback. I also think he's talked a lot about the offense in general. He says sky's the limit for the offense. He's obviously back with his old buddy, Garrett Wilson, who he played with in college. He's also back with Jeremy Ruckert, who he played with in college. So it's interesting to see that chemistry come back to life. We'll see what it really looks like during training camp when we get more cameras on them and things like that. And then, of course, if they play in the preseason, we'll see. I'm not really sure what Aaron Glenn's going to do there. And then the final thing that he talked about was the fact that they're building chemistry off the field. He said they're getting together a lot, doing a lot of different things as a team outside of just the football field, which is cool to see. And I like how it's like kind of quiet. Like we don't really hear about it besides when these guys tell us. So I think that's it's really cool. Now, for me, there's a lot of like flashy highlights of Justin Fields right now that are going around like Twitter, all that stuff. Remember, no pads. The defense is just learning the new defense. For me, I will not believe Justin Fields is a great quarterback until I see it. He has not proven us otherwise, and that's what's going to continue to hold back my predictions for how good this team is going to be, is because of our offense and this quarterback situation. So this is all positive right now, but I'm not, I don't want to be a downer either. Like, you never know. Like, it could be really positive. We could have a really good offense, and I feel really good about a lot of the pieces we have, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Number two, the next biggest thing was Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson spoke, and I think the big thing he said is he wants to be a Jet for life. Now, this guy, we've heard rumors, and now it's gotten reported that the Jets have offered him and Sauce Gardner contract extensions. I'm assuming that means that they just started negotiation. So they got to go back and forth, all that kind of stuff. He lost leverage with us by saying he wants to be a Jet for life, but I think that's the kind of person he is, that he truly means it and truly wants to be a Jet for life. So I don't know how you don't love this guy. He's just I hope we have him for 10 more years. He's just a great player. He handles himself really well, and he just passionately wants to win. So it was exciting to see that. He also mentioned that, it was good to get back with Justin Fields. Chemistry's picking up right where he left off. He also feels that he would watch. Well, number one, he felt that Justin Fields should have been drafted earlier. I think that was kind of a shot at Zach Wilson, but whatever. When we past that, he said he used to watch Justin Fields while he was playing for the Bears, and every time he'd throw it up, he'd say, I would have caught that. I would have caught that. So he's like, Justin Fields is a good quarterback. He wasn't getting the help he needed, which is exciting to see. It's like, all right, Garrett, let's prove it then. Let's get this gang back together, and let's see if we can string together some wins. So very excited about Garrett. I'm really hoping we hear about either him or Sauce getting this contract extension in the next 2 months. We'll talk a little bit more about that when the money situation comes up, but yeah, that was exciting. Other than that, we heard from all the coordinators. We haven't heard from any of them yet. So Tanner Engstrand, new offensive coordinator, young from the Lions. We have Steve Wilks, who came from the Panthers, the Cardinals. He's our defensive coordinator. And then you got Chris Banjo, who's first-time special teams coordinator. So we have a first-time offensive coordinator and a first-time special teams coordinator and a first-time head coach. Once again, we are not aligning to be the best team in football by all these things happening. So it's going to be a slow roll. This is why I'm not getting ahead of myself and saying we're going to be a playoff team. But we heard some good things. Steve Wilks, just really quick, he just said some really great things about Aaron Glenn, about how great of a coach he is, how great he is at holding people accountable. So I thought that was really cool to hear from him. But otherwise, nothing crazy, just the fact that we're going to cover really well and we're going to blitz. I'm really excited for that. We haven't really blitzed a ton as a team under Robert Saleh. So we'll see how that goes. But excited to see, like, Quincy Williams is going to be great blitzing. Same thing with Sherwood. I'm excited to see how they use Will McDonald. Just let him pin his ears back and go. So it should be really interesting. And I saw Sauce, actually, this was his first year, I think it was, against the Dolphins, right in my end zone. It was a home game. He blitzes off the end. Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback of the Dolphins. Blitzes, should have been a safety. I think it actually was a safety. Bridgewater gets hurt, pulled out of the game. The Jets win by 40 that game. So that was the rare time I saw Sauce actually blitz, which was really cool. So we'll see if Wilks does that here. Next, we heard from Chris Banjo. One of the great things he said was talking about Arian Smith, who was our 4th-round pick, the wide receiver, saying that he's going to use him a little bit more on special teams, which I thought was interesting. He's just trying to find ways to improve the unit, get fast, get aggressive, all that kind of stuff. So good to hear from him. And then Tanner Engstrand, he's the one I'm the most interested in. Young offensive coordinator from the Lions. Now, for me, I get nervous because he wasn't an offensive coordinator before. He sat under Ben Johnson, who's now the head coach of the Bears. So he never got his shot to be the guy. So I was like, how influential was he? Was Ben Johnson the one calling all the shots? Was he the one who was creating all these creative plays? And it sounds like from the stories we're hearing is that Tanner Engstrand was really involved in that, which is awesome. I'm very excited to hear that. And yeah, he seems like a very personable guy. He talked a lot about being fast, physical, aggressive, explosive. That was a big one that came up. He wants to throw to Garrett as much as possible. He also mentioned Breece Hall being a dual threat. So I assume Breece is probably going to be second on the team in targets this year. It's going to go Garrett, then Breece, which I think he's good out of the backfield catching the ball. So I'm excited to see that as well. So yeah, I was excited to hear Tanner Engstrand. Once again, we got to see it to believe it, see if it actually works. The other thing too, and this kind of pivots into my next point, was about the rookies. We're hearing a lot about the rookies. I'm very curious to see how Arian Smith is actually used. We're hearing great things about him in OTAs right now. Remember, 4th-round pick from Georgia, guy who drops the ball a lot but is blazing fast. We're hearing he's playing great in OTAs. He's just blowing by everybody. Can he catch the ball with the pads on and all that kind of stuff? That's going to be the big question. but can we use him like Jameson Williams for the Lions? And I think Evan brought that up last week. And that's because he's the fast guy. He's the explosive guy. He can make big plays. So we'll see how we use him, and hopefully he lives up to the hype of, he's only a 4th-round pick, but can he be better than that? And then the other one, Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor had 2 touchdown catches in OTAs today. Once again, shorts and T-shirts, so we're going to be careful. We're not going to get too excited. But I feel really good about Mason Taylor. I feel like the Jets offense is going to lean on him a lot, and he can catch. I think that's what really matters. So I'm excited to see him when the pads come on and things go live. And then the last person we heard a lot about is Azareye'h Thomas. Azareye'h Thomas, it sounds like he's fitting right into that cornerback room. Remember, he was our 3rd-round pick from Florida State. I would not be surprised if he's pushing Brandon Stevens for that starting role and it gets a lot of playing time towards the end of the year. I'm excited about him, and we'll see how he does. Him and Sauce could be a great combo. And, I'm praying Brandon Stevens is really good too, but, we didn't really see it last year. So we'll see how all that goes. Final piece from OTAs, and this isn't really OTAs, but it kind of pulls together with it. It is now June 2nd. June 1st is a big day in the NFL. That's when some of these salary cap hits get cut down for some. You get to pick 2 veteran players, where you could take their salary and you can bring it down to a more manageable number. So we actually gained $13 million in cap space today because of Aaron Rodgers and because of CJ Mosley. So we saved $13 million. We now have $36 million in total cap space, which I believe is 4th in the league. Now, we can totally not use any of this money. We could save it for next year because guess what? We're still going to have to be paying Aaron Rodgers and CJ Mosley next year too. So the cap just goes right back up. But you could also use it on extensions. You can use it to bring in some veteran players who we're going to talk about in a little bit. So it's going to be really interesting to see what we do. This money also rolls over. If you don't use it, it can roll over into next year as well. So curious to see how Muji plays this whole thing and where we go from here. All right, so that is OTA updates. Next, let's do a quick gym break because there's a lot going on in my other sports that we could talk about really quick. Let's start with number 1. The Mets, right back on track, sweep the Rockies. The Rockies are horrible. They have 9 wins. Scotty Scheffler has more wins in the month of May than the Rockies do. If the Rockies double their win total, they're still the worst team in baseball. It's unbelievable how bad they are. And it was really fun. I went to the game on Saturday, got to my buddy's kid. It was his first game, so we got to go watch. I mostly played with stickers the whole time with his kid, but I had a blast. And got to see a Soto homer, so that's always great. Sounds like he's getting back into it a little bit more. So it was a good week for the Mets. We're back on top of the NL East, but we'll see how long it lasts. We got to go play the Dodgers, so we'll see how that goes. For the New York Islanders, so our new GM is making moves already. Darch has already re-signed Kyle Palmieri, which I thought was really interesting. It was a 2-year deal, about $4 million, 4.2, I think it was, per year, which is actually a pretty reasonable deal for someone who's going to score 30 goals. So very excited to see that. Palmieri's getting a little old, but on a reasonable deal, you're not going to replace those goals right away. So you might as well keep him around. And then also he announced that our coach, Patrick Waugh, is coming back. Bridgeport will have a whole new coaching staff. Our assistants are gone for the actual team. So we'll see. I think he's kind of let's see how it goes. We'll give you a real fighting chance this year, and then we'll evaluate. So that was the Islanders. And then, of course, they got the first pick coming up in less than a month. So we'll see how that goes, too. And then finally, let's talk about the one that's the most brutal and the saddest one. The New York Knicks go down they actually won. They really won to take it to 3-2. And I thought if we could just get back to the Garden 3-3, you never know. But unfortunately, they were kind of close at halftime, but then they just kept fading away. The lead kept getting greater and greater, and they couldn't come back. No one really jumped out to me as I'm going to take over this game kind of guy for the Knicks. And I think the magic just ran out. They had 3 20-point comebacks throughout these playoffs. It was a great playoff run. I think a lot of lessons can be taken away from this playoff run. We could use the bench a little bit more. I think there's still more talent needed on this roster. It's not set in stone, but it's tough when you're only using 6 guys. I loved Mitch Robinson. I thought he played great. He's working on his free throws, but he was awesome. that first game, I think, just killed us. That first game being up by 14 with 2 minutes left and giving up the lead and losing in overtime, that's just like a dagger to the heart. So, yeah, you can't go 0-2 at home to start the series and expect to win. So, great season for the Knicks. So excited I finally got to see them in an Eastern Conference Finals. Fortunately, it didn't work out, but we'll see what they do this offseason. And you got to feel good about, the GM we've got setting up a team that's gotten us this far. And we've been in the playoffs consistently now. It feels good to have a team that's just always going to be around like that. So shout out to the Knicks. Great season, but we'll see you next year. And what is that? 30-something years old, still no championships. We'll get there. Please, Knicks. Knicks, come on. Okay. Now let's go to... I want to pivot. Let's go back to football. I want to do something a little bit broader. It's not just the Jets. This is some free agents that are still out there. So everybody in the league, if they had dead cap hits, June 1st probably got them a little bit more cap space. Who are they going to spend it on? There are a couple free agents out there that I think will sign to a roster. It's just a matter of when. When do they feel like they want to be a part of OTA's training camp, whatever. No, I'm not going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. He should just go to the Steelers or retire. That's it. I mean, the Vikings, I think, is a dream that is not going to happen for him. So he might as well just show up to training camp. It's funny that he was missing all of OTAs. It makes me laugh. Also hilarious, Hassan Reddick has missed all of OTAs for the Buccaneers. So he's just falling right back into his old ways. Classic Hassan Reddick. But the 5 free agents I want to talk about: Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, J.K. Dobbins, Justin Simmons, and Zadarius Smith. So first, let's talk about Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, getting a little bit older. I feel like he didn't do what everybody thought he was going to do with the Buffalo Bills last year. And I really don't think he's just good outdoors. I don't think he's good outdoors. I don't think he's good in the cold. I don't think he's good outdoors. So for me, I think this is a very, very easy one. The Arizona Cardinals only have, I think they have 14 games in a dome this year. And their stadium is a retractable roof, but like if it's not nice out, they're going to close it. So I think it's a no-brainer for Amari Cooper to go to the Cardinals. I mean, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. on one side. You've got, Kyler Murray at quarterback. I mean, you got Trey McBride at tight end. And they've drafted a bunch of young receivers that just haven't really worked out. So I feel like Amari would be a really good fit down there in Arizona with the Cardinals. So I'm not even going to offer other options. I think that's the move. Like, that's the place he should go. The Cardinals need him. I think it makes sense. My second player I'm going to bring up, Keenan Allen. You could make an argument that he should go to Arizona as well. If Amari Cooper doesn't go there, you go Keenan Allen. For me, though, I think he can play in other elements. He's not just a warm weather guy, even though, he made his money in L.A. For me, I think there's a couple. The Dolphins are interesting. They kind of need a third receiver. I don't know what they have besides, you got Tyreek Hill, obviously. He's getting a little bit older. We'll see what happens. And he's also like kind of all over the place right now about whether he's going to be traded or not. So I feel like he could fit down there. I don't know if they're the contender he's looking for. My other thoughts were, in Dallas, you've got, obviously George Pickens just gets traded there. So is there a third receiver that they need for Dak Prescott down in Dallas? Could he go there? That could be interesting. Once again, are they the contender they're looking for to fight in that division, or that Keenan Allen's looking for to fight in that division? I'm not sure. So the one I think I'm going to settle on is the San Francisco 49ers. I think you've got Brandon Ayuk coming back from a torn ACL. Who knows how ready he's going to be at the beginning of the season. You got Ricky Pearsall, who's the good young receiver there that they're excited about, but you got to give him some help. Brock Purdy just gets signed to a big contract. I feel like they're still in this win now mode. They got Robert Saleh back coaching up that defense. I think that's the move. I think Keenan Allen can play in San Francisco, and I think Brock Purdy's good enough of a quarterback to make use of Keenan Allen's talents. So I'm going Keenan Allen to the 49ers. Before I go to the next one, the 49ers brought up an interesting point that I need to bring up because this is a Jets podcast. The 49ers made a trade today. This is wild. So if we take it back 2 years ago, or last offseason, the Jets let their 10-sack guy Bryce Huff walk in free agency. So he walks, signs with the Philadelphia Eagles for a whopping contract. It was like $50+ million, something that I thought the Jets could have done. It was like 17 per year, but the Jets didn't want to do it. He has a horrible year in Philadelphia, does nothing. I couldn't believe it because he was so good for the Jets. He was so good. So what happens? The Jets trade for Hassan Reddick for a second-round pick. Joe Douglas makes that trade with his old buddy Howie Roseman, who's the GM of the Eagles. Then Joe Douglas signs Hassan Reddick to a contract extension and gets fired. Joe Douglas gets fired. Where does Joe Douglas now sign? He now works for Howie Roseman, his buddy in Philadelphia, for the Eagles. So this is like next level GMing. Not only did he let this player walk that Philadelphia signs, he trades away a Jet pick to the Eagles, which now he gets to use next year. Joe Douglas will get to make a pick with the pick he originally had for the Jets, but for the Eagles. And now today, he trades Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers, to his old buddy Robert Saleh, for a draft pick. That is just like next level GMing by Joe Douglas. The unbelievable. It's wild. I think Bryce Huff is going to be awesome for the 49ers. Back in Saleh's defense, he's just going to let him go. I'm like really pumped to watch him there. And it doesn't really impact the Jets at all. So I'm not going to feel bad about it. So good for Bryce Huff. Good for Robert Saleh getting one of his pieces back. And really good for Joe Douglas getting 2 picks for the Eagles through what he's done with the Jets, Hassan Reddick, and Bryce Huff. So I just had to throw that story in because I thought it was absolutely bananas. All right, next player I want to talk about, J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins coming off a great year with the Chargers. Obviously, that's Harbaugh, run the ball like crazy. He played well, but he's unsigned still, which I'm pretty surprised about. I guess it's his age, his injury history, things like that. There were a couple teams that came to mind when I thought about J.K. Dobbins. I also thought about the Dolphins. They did sign Alex Madison in the offseason, but I don't think he's that great either. And they have Achane, of course. So I'm like, is he the veteran presence that can like replace Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins? So that was one. I thought about the Falcons. Bijan Robinson getting a running mate as well. They got a couple young guys too, but I feel like, once again, I like that presence of someone who knows how to play the game. So J.K. Dobbins, I think, would be a good fit there. And then my third one was the Houston Texans. They got Joe Mixon, and they got Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce has not lived up to what he was the first year he played there. Joe Mixon, really good. He's just getting older, so you probably need a running mate so he doesn't take up all the snaps. I think J.K. Dobbins would do really well in Houston. My pick for him, though, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like that one just kind of makes sense. They should run the ball a lot with Michael Penix at quarterback, and I don't want to give the Dolphins anything. So, yeah, I'm going J.K. Dobbins to the Falcons. Next, Justin Simmons, all-pro safety, should play somewhere, but where's he going to go? I mean, he made his money with the Broncos. I got 2 teams in mind for Justin Simmons. Honestly, all these players would probably be a really great fit for the Jets, but we are not spending money on old players, and we're not a contender, so they would never come to us. But Justin Simmons, 2 teams came in mind. Number 1 was the Bucs. They got Antoine Winfield Jr. over there. Todd Bowles, I think, great scheme for any safety. I feel like he'd be a really good fit in Tampa, but I had one that I liked a little bit more, and this is just because that there's like history behind this, and it's the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs like to spend late in free agency on veteran players. So I think Justin Simmons would be a great fit for that defense. Steve Spagnuolo would love him. So I'd like to see if the Chiefs are going to make that move. That's going to be my pick for where he goes is the Chiefs, but we'll see. And then finally, my last one, Zadarius Smith. D-end, played for the Lions last year. He's been a little all over the place, but my pick for him is actually to stay with the Lions. He got traded there last offseason, and I think now they can get him on a cheaper deal. Now that we're past June 1st, I think they have a good amount of money, actually, which is kind of weird for how good of a team they are. And get that pass rush going with Aiden Hutchinson, who's coming off a major injury. So I'm going Zadarius Smith to the Lions. There's obviously other teams that could use a pass rusher, of course, and who knows, maybe he's a trade chip later in the year. There's also Jadeveon Clowney out there and other players. But I like him back with the Lions. I just think it's a good fit. So those are my top fits for free agents. we'll see. We'll see if the Jets bring in anybody. I think, we could still use a D tackle. We could still use a safety. Still use a wide receiver. We'll see. I think I like the running back room. I don't know. Since we drafted wide receivers, I don't know if we're going to bring anyone else in. Linemen are looking pretty good right now. Maybe an edge player somewhere. But yeah, I think we're pretty locked down on corner, linebacker as well. So we'll see if the Jets make any moves over the next couple weeks. All right, but that is it. That is my episode for this week. Let's go back to the trivia question. We're gonna go to Joe Namath here. Happy birthday, Joe, 82. By the way, I do not believe that Joe Namath needs to die for us to win a Super Bowl. I think that's stupid. I love Joe Namath. I hope he lives forever. So my question was, while he was a player, he had a bar in New York City. What was the name of the bar? The name of the bar was called Bachelor's 3. Now, this was an interesting story because he owned it while he played for the Jets, and he was like actually an active player. This was like around the Super Bowl years. I think it was actually right after we won the Super Bowl. The NFL actually forced him. They gave him an ultimatum. They said, shut it down or give up. Well, you either retire from football or you give up ownership and shut it down. Because they didn't like the types of people that were going into this bar. They called it undesirable characters. So Joe Namath actually says, I will retire. Has a spat with the NFL, says, I'm out, I'm not playing anymore. And this is when he's at the peak of his prime. But then he comes back, gives up the bar, plays football, all that good stuff. So Joe Namath, one of the greatest characters in NFL history and Jets history, obviously won us a Super Bowl MVP, only one we've ever had. First player to throw for 4,000 yards in the NFL when there was only 14 games. And surprise, the Jets have not done it since, and now there's 17 games. And it's a passing league now. Makes absolutely no sense. Obviously for him, the big thing, he guaranteed the victory. We played in the AFL at the time, and the AFL and the NFL were separate. And because he guaranteed it, we were, 17-point underdogs to the Baltimore Colts and Don Shula. And we actually won the game. And this is really what started the merger between the AFL and the NFL to be the NFL that it is today. A couple other fun things about Joe Namath. This one I thought was really interesting. I read it in one of his, I can't remember which biography it was that I read it in, but in 1967, he played against the Oakland Raiders, and he was like victimized by this crazy unnecessary roughness penalty by someone on the Raiders. He ends up fracturing his jaw. Because of that, he ends up staying in the game, throwing a touchdown pass. He plays the next week. He doesn't care. Back in the day, people just played injured. Like, that's how it went. But after that injury, the NFL created the jaw strap, which protected quarterbacks to make sure that they, wouldn't get hurt when they got hit by linemen and things like that. So I thought that was really interesting. But overall, the greatest player in Jets history, Joe Namath. Happy birthday. And yeah, I think that's all I got on Joe. All right, that is it for the Juicy Jet podcast. There's going to be a couple more OTA practices coming up this week. We got a couple next week. And then we break for the rest of the offseason until end of July when football comes back. I think we're about 80-something days away from opening kickoff. So it's coming, and it's coming fast. So we'll see if any other news breaks or anything else happens, but I really appreciate everybody joining. I have actually kicked off a new Instagram. We've got a new Twitter. Obviously, we have the TikTok and, of course, the YouTube channel. And you can listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. So if you can follow me on all the new stuff we've got going on, JuicyJet25 across Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, that would be amazing. And then, of course, like, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things you need to do in order to make sure that you support this program. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you have a good rest of the week, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.